Afternoon guys. So today's video is going to be about feeding your koi during the winter, the colder months. I'm going to talk about what I do, what I've done for 23 something years with good success, when I feed, when I don't feed, and what food I use. A few little tips and tricks that I use during these colder times. So firstly, as always, if this is the first of my videos you've seen, please do subscribe. Do hit the notification icons so you don't miss any future content. I will be making a lot of videos over the winter period, so yeah, do watch out for those. Good or bad, leave a comment at the end. I always like to hear what people think. I always reply to all the comments, and if you like the video, give me a like. So yes, feeding in winter, it's a funny topic this. It seems if you just do a quick Google search, you'll get 1,000 different replies, 1,000 different opinions. There doesn't seem a great deal of science, not that I can find anyway, proven factual evidence as to what is the right way to go about it. So this video is based on, as I say, 23 some years that I've been keeping koi, and what I've done over that time with good success. I've never had any issues doing what I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good starting point, a good way to go. So what I do then, back in probably July, August time, I start to think about winter food, in the sense that I look at what summer food I've got left, how much I've got left, and I start to think about buying the next bag of food I buy. I will adjust the size of that. I'll bring it down in maybe a 1 kilogram bag, maybe a 2 kilogram bag. I'll buy a smaller bag. So the goal being that a bag of summer food runs out mid to late September. So yeah, whatever food I'm feeding over the winter months, I want to start thinking in July, August, and planning the size of my next bag such that that bag runs out, as I say, mid to late September, early October at the latest. And then when that bag does run out, about a week before it's due to run out, I'll purchase some wheat germ food, and I use Hikari wheat germ. I absolutely swear by Hikari wheat germ, and I'll explain a little bit later why Hikari wheat germ is so good in my opinion, and why I will only use Hikari wheat germ. So I'd say about a week before that bag's about to run out, I'll buy some wheat germ. Now I don't buy it any sooner, simply because koi food, you want to buy it as fresh as you possibly can. It does deteriorate from the minute it's made, even when it's packaged. You know, it loses freshness, it loses nutritional value. You want to buy as late as you can. You don't want to buy it early and have it sitting around going off. And to that end, I always buy it from a reputable dealer as well. I like to go in, if I possibly can, and buy it so I can check the sell by dates, you know, check the freshness. You can sometimes pick it up on certain selling sites quite cheap, or a little bit cheaper, but you often find the sell by dates are short or even past. So yeah, a week before, reputable dealer, get the freshest wheat germ you possibly can. And then once that bag of summer food runs out, I switch over to wheat germ. Now there's no particular temperature as such that I want to make this transition, but I like to be on wheat germ by the time I get to 10 degrees. I get down to 10 degrees. So 10 degrees and lower, I feed wheat germ. It's better to make that change early than make it late. There's no problem at all will come from changing over to wheat germ earlier. You can potentially cause issues leaving it later. So yeah, if anything, make the change earlier. And then in terms of when to feed, I don't bother with the thermometer. I do have a thermometer on the pond. I know what the temperature is, but I don't believe in hard and fast rules for what temperature you can't feed and you can feed. What I do is I look at the fish, and you can see behind me they're active. I think the water's about 7 something degrees this morning, but they're still active. And what you need to do is you need to observe your own koi, and you need to know when they are hungry. I can see this window from my living room. I can look out the window, the patio doors there in the living room, and in a few seconds I can tell if my fish are hungry or not. If they're around the window like this, active, swimming up and down, chances are they're going to want feeding. If I look in a few seconds I don't see any at the window, no activity, I know usually they're not hungry. But you get to know your fish and how they kind of communicate to you that they're hungry. If I walk over, they come to the window, they come up to the top. Some of them go into the corner where I always throw the food ready to be fed. You need to get to know when your koi need feeding. And all through winter, I don't care what the temperature is, if I see my fish want food, they're looking for food, then I will feed them wheat germ. And as always, this applies all year round, not just in winter. If I feed the fish, if I decide that they're hungry, I feed them. 5 minutes later, any food that's not eaten in that 5 minutes, scoop it out, throw it in the bin. And that applies all year round. And basically what that means is I've got it wrong, basically. I thought they needed feeding. I've misinterpreted the signs. They weren't actually hungry. Take it out, throw it away. Don't leave it in there any longer than 5 minutes. And as I say, that's all year round, not just in the winter. Now, the reason I don't really buy into this koi can't eat below certain temperatures, I don't get me wrong, I do appreciate that the metabolisms, they're cold-blooded, the metabolisms slow down as the water decreases, as the water temp decreases. I absolutely do get that. But for me, they know better than me when they can eat. If they want feeding, I'll feed them. If it's not safe for them to eat, they won't have an appetite. That's how nature works. They slow down, their functions slow down. They don't have an appetite when they're not able to eat and digest food safely. So if they want feeding, give them some food. And that, if you think about koi in the wild, during the summer warmer months, they have a higher protein food available to them, grubs, insects, flies, larvae, whatever, all rich in protein. In the winter, those insects turn to whatever they're turning into and fly away. They die, they hibernate, they disappear. So nature naturally takes away the high protein food from the fish, and they then rely on a plant-based algae, weed, etc. diet for food, which is lower in protein. And that's kind of what we're doing when we switch to the wheat germ from the higher protein. But in nature, nobody goes around all the ponds, all the rivers, all the lakes and takes all the food source away. That food source is available to those koi all year round. If they didn't know when they could eat and they were daft enough to just carry on eating, they would all die every winter. But they don't. They know when they can and can't eat, and trust them to get it right. And the part you need to play is to get to know your fish well enough to know when they're hungry, when they want feeding. And as I say, if it's not gone in 5 minutes, admit you got it wrong, take it out, throw it in the bin, no problem. Just a little bit on Hikari wheat germ. Back when I first, early days of my koi keeping, I went to buy two koi from a hobbyist who I'd met via a forum. He lived down in Birmingham, Dudley he lived. He was selling 2 terrazzo kahaku. I think they were about 50-60 centimetres at the time, these fish. I went down, and the pond he had, it was 3,000 gallons. He had a big old multi-bay filter, 3,000 gallons, so not the biggest pond in the world, not any high-tech filtration, nothing fancy in that sense, but a cracking pond, and a cracking guy as it turned out. He fed his fish only Hikari wheat germ. He didn't feed high protein food, he didn't feed anything else, he fed them Hikari wheat germ. And the reason he was selling these 2 terrazzo kahaku is that they outgrew his pond, and it was a bit of a problem to him, the way his fish grew, bizarrely. He had a chag, Now, I don't know if if it got to a metre or if it was 90 centimetres, but the chag was enormous. It got too big for his 3,000 gallon pond, he had to sell it. He bought another chag, and the same story, 80, 90 centimetres it grew to, had to sell it. All the fish he had were continually outgrowing his pond, and all he fed was Hikari wheat germ. Now, from that day on, it made me realise that the high protein and the summer foods, I'm not convinced. When I have a pond of 3-year-old and above fish, and there's no young fish in, I only feed Hikari wheat germ. These guys are all knee-high now, they're all young fish. They're getting a growth food in the summer. Once they turn 3, they will just get Hikari wheat germ. I do appreciate younger fish do need the higher protein. You want to maximise that growth at that age, but as I say, once they reach 3, Hikari wheat germ is all you need to feed them. I'm sort of telling this story really because I hear a lot and I see people say, oh, I've got to go on to wheat germ, and as though it's a bad thing, and as though it's, you know, it really isn't. A lot of the protein and a lot of the stuff that goes into growth food, your fish don't assimilate it. They can't use it. It just ends up as pollutant in your water. Good quality wheat germ is absolutely a perfect base for any koi diet, but as I say, particularly once they get beyond 3 years old, I feed nothing else. I say I tell that just to kind of make the point that it isn't some kind of second best or some kind of poor option. It is still good quality food with more than good enough to supply your koi all the nutrients that they need. So yeah, just by way of a very quick recap, switch over to wheat germ mid to late September. Understand your koi, understand when they're telling you that they're hungry and they want feeding. Feed them if they're hungry. If you get it wrong, if they've not ate it in 5 minutes, take it out. Don't worry so much about the temperature. Trust that they know, and nature knows. That's all for today. Please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Until the next video, please stay safe and take care.